Hello, everyone. My name is Ana Martha Ayala, and I'd like to welcome you to my YouTube channel. As a reminder, I do every video in English and Spanish, and the degree theory is based on modern Western astrology using the Placidus house system. In today's video, I wanted to talk to you about the United States and what I see coming for 2026, basically. Now, one of the viewers asked me about what was going to happen in the United States. And I want to remind all of you that I'm not a mundane astrologer. However, based on historical events, that's how astrologers make their predictions. And for the US, this video is mainly going to concentrate on the previous cycles of Uranus in Gemini. It mostly has to do with the US going to war and changes in the monetary system or a financial reset. So I am going to put up the chart for the US. Now, this is my understanding of the best chart to use for the United States. I have not rectified it. It's the Sibley chart, I believe it's called. And as you can see, the US natally has Mars in Gemini. And now Uranus is going to, well, it's been going through, it just got introduced into Gemini, but the cycle begins, right? So if we go back in US history, the from April 9th, 1775 through September 3rd, 1783, the American Revolutionary War took place. And also the issuance of money called greenbacks, which was the currency used to finance the war, which later became worthless. We had during the Revolutionary War, if you guys remember, or back in US history in 11th grade, or no, in 12th grade in high school, they teach you American history, or at least they did when I was going to high school. You have the Boston Tea Party, the Declaration of Independence in 1776. We had the battles of Yorktown and Saratoga. And back then, the US allies were France and Spain. So if we move forward 80 years, 84 years later, we have the American Civil War. And that was from April 12th, 1861 through May 26, 1865. So the American Civil War dealt with tensions between the northern states and the southern states, primarily over slavery. So what did this cause? It caused the secession of 11 southern states from the Union, and they formed the Confederate States of America. So 11 of the states said, oh, no, no, we're going to be separate from the rest of the United States. The war started when the Confederate forces attacked Fort Sumter in South Carolina. And we had major battles like Gettysburg, the siege at Vicksburg, and Sherman's march to the sea. President Lincoln President Lincoln's Emancipation Proclamation, which declared that all slaves in the Confederate held territories needed to be free. The conclusion of the Civil War was April 9th, 1865, when General Robert E. Lee from the Confederate Army surrendered to the Union General Ulysses S. Grant. This was the highest death of soldiers in American history. They estimate anywhere from 620,000 to 750,000 soldiers died. During the war, they issued continental dollars that again later became worthless. So every time we have a war, they issue new money to fund the war, and then it goes south, right? All right. So after the Civil War, 84 years later, we have World War II. So every time Uranus enters Gemini, because the United States has Mars to go to war in Gemini. So when Uranus is coming in this sign, it just so happens that the cycle indicates that the US goes to war. So 84 years after the Civil War, we have World War II, which started after the attack on Pearl Harbor by Japan on December 7th, 1941. So this was mainly World War II was mainly the US, Britain, and France against the Axis powers, Germany, Italy, and Japan. Key battles were the D-Day invasion in Normandy, the Battle of Midway. And of course, we all remember, or at least we should remember, that the war ended with the detonation of two atomic bombs in Hiroshima and Nagasaki in Japan. And then Japan said, okay, I've had enough. So no currency was devalued or became worthless then, but in 1971, President Nixon went off the gold standard. So you couldn't convert US dollars to gold any longer. Before the currency was backed by gold, right? So it was supposed to be temporary, but it's still that way now. We have US dollars, but they're not convertible to gold unless you buy gold. Uh, Obviously, World War II stimulated the economy because every time countries seem to be in a financial trouble, they go to war to get the economy moving. But this also creates hyperinflation. So what does this mean for us this time? Are we going to go to maybe digital currencies? That's with crypto and Ethereum and all that stuff, which to each his own, right? I don't specifically I don't own any cryptocurrency because to me, if they hack your account, they'll wipe it out. But I respect those people that do. Now, the second indicators of this situation concerning, and I'm going to stop sharing the screen, concerning the financial issues, right, is this last eclipse that we had September 21st, which was a new moon solar eclipse at 28 degrees of Virgo. The eclipses have something called the Saros cycle. And this eclipse belongs to the Saros cycle 154. You all should know that the lunar nodes move signs every 19 years. That is their cycle. And then the Saros cycle came up because they noticed that certain eclipses belonging to, they assign numbers to these cycles, right? They have the same themes, or things happen the same way. So every 19 years, the lunar nodes change position. And we also know that the lunar nodes are not planets. It's the intersection of the eclipses between the sun and the moon. So it's not like you have physical planets out there, right? So the last eclipse that we had 19 years before that was on September 6th in Virgo, September 6, 2006. And so what happened then? The mortgage subprime issues started to evolve, and that led to the 2008 financial crisis. 19 years before that, September 23rd, 1987, we had another eclipse at 29 degrees of Virgo. And by the way, all of these eclipses have happened towards the 29th degree of Virgo, 28, 29 degrees of Virgo. So what happened in October 19th, 1987? The stock market crashed. That was the dot-com bubble. And it wasn't just the US. I mean, it hit worldwide, right? That was a huge drop. It was like 20 something percent or 20% the stock market dropped. And then in 1989, President Bush signed the law to rescue the savings and loan industry because of the fiasco with another financial issues that happened. So you see the themes, war and financial crisis. So what do I think is going to happen, right? Based on the historical data of the astrological transits, I think the US is going to be going to war. All right. Now, will it be boots on the ground? Or maybe just a tech war, or maybe a combination of both. Like the tech war, I mean, what I mean by this is like, computer hacking. They could attack the electricity grid, an EMP. Obviously, God forbid that they send troops, to fight a war that's, not ours, but these are all based on the history. This is where the US has gone to war officially and declared. So I think, war in 2026 or maybe like 2030, because it takes a couple of years for the US to go to war and it's not imminent. Um, Right now we have proxy wars, right? We supply weapons of destruction to Israel. We supply weapons of destruction to Ukraine. But we're not technically, the US is not technically at war with Russia or with Gaza, right? So um, I do think that the stock market is going to crash in 2026, but I'm not a financial astrologer. I'm just basing it on the history that we have seen. I also wanted to remind you guys that when Neptune, if you look at the video that I did of the ingress of Neptune into Aries, a new holy war. I think maybe it's going to be with Iran, but it's a new holy war. And Neptune in Aries brings hyperinflation. It's a given as well. Now, when Saturn conjuncts Neptune, which will happen in February of 2026, remember that Saturn is obstacles, blockages, difficulties, right? That's Saturn. And then Neptune is things with the ocean. So maybe cargo ships are attacked, or because of the tariffs, countries just stop shipping goods to the US. So, um, you know, Saturn is always no or not now. You need to wait. So, and Neptune rules oil. So there can be a shortage of oil, just like in the 70s. I remember being a kid, those long lines to fill up the gas. And I remember that on odd days of the month, if your license tag ended in such numbers, then you could fill up. And then on even days of the month, if your tags ended in whatever, like you had to take turns to fill up your gas tank. And then on top of everything, we have Pluto in Aquarius. So Pluto is the planet of transformation, control, death, power, ultimate power. And Aquarius rules humanity. It rules the people. So in my opinion, Pluto in Aquarius, besides, of course, Nicolas saying that it was the war on humanity, and we have seen what has happened with Israel and Gaza and Ukraine and Russia and Ukraine. Um, I think that they are going to try to control humanity. How are they going to do that? Artificial intelligence. Eh, Applying restrictions because Pluto is ultimate control. Maybe you need digital IDs or you can't travel, right? Like Aquarius, you can't fly because whatever reason, unless you have whatever they say that you need to have, right? So I can't tell you what to do, but I can tell you what I have done in order to protect against hyperinflation, right? Um, and by no stretch of the imagination am I trying to instill fear or concern. To me, if you prepare and nothing happens, great, no problem. You're going to use the items anyway. But if you don't prepare and something does happen, then you're going to be in trouble because you will not be able to buy things. You guys should do some research on countries that have gone belly up, like Greece, Argentina, Venezuela, um, countries that have like basically gone bankrupt and then they've had to rebuild. The price of groceries, a lot of people would buy groceries today because 2 days from now, the prices could double. So that's in Germany during the war or after the war, actually, hyperinflation as well. You can Google and do research there. If you find any comments that I don't mention, please put them down so that we could all help each other. But anyway, this is what I have done. I have bought physical silver coins because Jupiter is in Cancer and Cancer rules silver. So if you guys want to invest in, precious metals because they hold the value, silver, gold, platinum, gold to me is too expensive. It's like $3,900 an ounce. Silver is about $48. You could also, if you guys want to invest in the stock market, I'll tell you the two ticker symbols that I have bought stocks in is SIL, which is so this is a mining company, an ETF. I'm not too familiar with the stock market because I really don't. Oh, good. Look, it just went up to 74.86. And then this is the silver index as well. Let me see how it started today. $46.02. Doing well. Okay, so those are the two that I've invested. If you have now, when do I plan to sell these? Because these are not going to go up for forever. Remember, Jupiter goes into Leo next summer. I don't remember the date now, but I think it's late June or sometime in June. So both physical coins and which they're running about $50 because you saw that it's like the spot price is about 48 bucks, but they always, charge a little bit more for you to get the physical coins. Now, I have started to grow my own plants and I'm struggling with that one because Sahara, my Doberman, has destroyed my rosemary, my basil. I mean, she thinks it's their toys. So, but I have the spices, parsley, rosemary, basil, oregano, that those types of things. I have banana trees. I have sugar apple. And I have mamey, which is like a papaya, but it's more of a Latin fruit than oranges. The orange tree is surviving because Sahara liked that one too. So it's not it's tiny. It used to be real, a little bit bigger, but She's something else. And of course, because I live in South Florida, we always prepare for hurricanes. So canned foods and water bottles, right? Things that you can, that you'll have food to eat that are not going to spoil for a long time. I am trying to buy a property out in the country in northern Florida because that's where the land is cheapest. Here in Miami, forget it. The acres are like, $750,000. So that's no way. And the lottery is not in my chart. So I'm not going to waste money on that. So once I do get the house in the country, I do plan to have chickens, um, goats, maybe a cow or two. I have to do some more research on that, but but the chickens for sure. I grew up with chickens and ducks and stuff, but I'm not happy about the ducks. You should have solar power battery chargers, candles, propane stoves, the little ones. Again, just pull up a hurricane list, how to prepare for a hurricane, and you will see all the items that you need. That's pretty much what, like I said, down here in South Florida, we have it anyway because, hurricanes come all the time. And if not, think about what you did for the pandemic, right? You bought things that won't spoil. So toilet paper, paper towels, soap, detergents. You'll save money because in case the cargo ships get stuck or stopped or attacked, then you're gonna hedge against the hyperinflation. You're gonna have them in stock anyway. And you know that these are items that you're gonna use, that they won't spoil. Um, stuff to clean the house, right? Any liquid that you use to clean the floors or, like Clorox wipes. Just things that you could buy that can save you money now instead of having to pay a lot more for it later on. So, again, this video is not meant to scare anybody, but one of the viewers did ask me to share my thoughts on what I think is going to happen in the US for next year. So this is what I think. It's a trend because remember that Uranus is in Gemini for the next 7 years. So will it happen all at once? No. But you will see that, I mean, come on, you go to the market, you take out two little bags and no meat, no chicken, nothing like that is $70, which is outrageous. So, um, at least down here it is. I'm sure that in other places, maybe things are a little bit cheaper, but that's what I see coming for the US. Again, I hope that maybe history does not repeat itself, but based on historical information, every time that a Uranus has been in Gemini, these are the things that happen for the United States. So for people watching this that live in Europe, that live in down under, eh, Canada, whatever, you guys need to do research on the things that have happened because I know France is going to get hit too because they had the French Revolution. The only thing is you know, I can't do every country because it's just, I don't have the time right now. But I'll see, you guys should do the time frames that I gave you, that you do some research on what happened where you're living during that period of time. So anyway, I hope that you have found this video helpful. If so, please give it a thumbs up, subscribe to the channel, and send it to somebody else that you think might need to know what history talks about, right? As always, if you would like a natal chart reading with me, please send me an email to amaastrology@aol.com. Thank you for watching, and I will see you in the next video.